Alright, what's going on everybody? Zombies here again, and today we're back with another Marble Snap video. So today we are back for our final Infinite decks of the week for the Guardians of the Galaxy season. Season is ending tomorrow, bringing in the new Spider-Verse season for June. So we're going to take a look at some decks here that people used to get over the infinite finish line just before the season ended. As always, we have our companion article here, so if you want to grab a deck code or some more information on the decks or seeing the tweets, you can find some of that in the article, link in the description. First up here we have MK Snaps getting there with Evo Thor Jaw. This is a deck I've really liked and have played a bunch of. Dracula is the one card where I've seen some builds run it, some not. Obviously it's really good with your big things like Hulk and Infinite, though you do have a little bit of risk with things like Dr. Doom and High Evo and Jubilee and stuff being a low roll if those cards are in your hand at the end of the game. But overall this seems like a very powerful version and much improved from the old school Thor Jane Lockjaw archetype, and is looking like it might be the premier Lockjaw deck to use if you want to have success on ladder right now. TS Charlotte also got there with the same list, and just goes to show that it's not necessarily about finding the best deck in the game. It's more about finding a deck that you feel comfortable with. They mentioned trying out a bunch of the other popular and effective decks like High Evo Control, Surfer, Galactus, etc. But this is the thing that really clicked for them and got them over the finish line. So if you enjoy these Thor Lockjaw style decks, maybe this is the one for you to try out. We have Marble Snap memes getting there with Galactus. Galactus continuing to be very resilient into the current metagame environment. With all the high Evo stuff going around, it's pretty good versus that, and feels like just a lot of decks aren't really respecting Galactus right now, aside from the main one being the high Evo lane control, which is probably a pretty favored matchup for the Evo player. But generally, Galactus seems really well positioned, as people still aren't really respecting it with many of the tech cards available right now. Then we have Senador making it with TLSG's Galactus list, this one opting to include some different cards from the other one like Jeff and Iron Lad. I think the Iron Lad inclusion is really neat, since this is more of a all-in version of Galactus, being able to have a second chance at a key card like our Galactus, like our Null, even a ramp piece. Really important. So I think this is probably a pretty decent direction to go with Galactus if you have the card available. And then we have Parm making it for their first time Infinite with a Destroy Deadpool deck. So this is one I'm always really happy to see have some success for folks. Deadpool is a super duper fun card. I think the archetype has had a little bit of an issue for a while where he can pop off and do really cool stuff, but sometimes you just don't draw your Deadpool and that's kind of awkward. But this deck does lean on other powerful destroy synergies, so we still have good stuff to do if we don't find our Deadpool. And we do have things like Shang-Chi here, so we're not all in on just putting out a ton of power ourselves, but we can also steal some power away from the opponent by blowing up one of their big things. So really cool to see Destroy still kind of being good enough to get the job done for folks, even after the change with Wave a few weeks ago, and I'm excited to see how the archetype evolves going into the future. Then we have Corbinite making it with Destroy as well. Very similar Deadpool list, however, they do opt for a little bit more top end here in favor of the Shang-Chi tech. So we're running Null in this version, and I've seen a few different Destroy decks trying this out with Null as the top end, and it's been pretty impressive. I think it's something not very many people play around. They kind of expect they can just win with their big Hulk, and a lot of times Null can actually outpower that. So really cool seeing people have success not only with the Deadpool archetype, but also having Null as just a big way to end the game outside of its normal home in Galactus. And the last Destroy deck we have here is coming from Ace and Kane, making it during the Carmitage hot location. So I wanted to feature this because I think hot locations are a great way to help push ranks. If it's one you feel you can lean into or try and counter. Here we can see they did a little bit of both. They have cards that are very powerful into the location, but are also rocking Cosmo as a way to shut down the location if need be, or just be able to play their big destroyer without it blowing everything up if that's not exactly optimal. but this is definitely a good one to use for the hot location before it goes away, as getting double Shuri into the Nimrod and blowing it up multiple times with Destroyer or Zola seems like a very powerful thing to be doing. So definitely worth showcasing that just finding a deck that works really well for a hot location can be really useful to making that final push to infinite. Then we have Ram Shankar making it with a combination of Sera Surfer and Sera Control. Finally seeing Shadow King get some love here as a way to counter some of the things like High Evo and Kitty Pryde and Bishop, just a lot of the cards that are trying to boost up those stats. I think Surfer is actually pretty underrated right now, a very powerful deck, and things like Goose and Storm are really helping them have some game against the other High Evo lane control style stuff, as Goose can make it very hard for them to be able to play their Hulk on the final turn in combination with some of our other lane lock elements. And then Sera Control, still one of the best decks in the game right now. Seems like a very solid way to go if you want to have a bit more of a reactive game plan, but you can definitely kind of take your pick here depending on what you're running into, but you can't really go wrong with either of these Sera decks right now, in my opinion. And then to round it out, we have Zordex Snap coming in with a spicy take on a very popular build, which is the High Evo lane locking shenanigans. They're opting for the full lane lock package of Storm, Spider-Man, and Professor X, with Iron Lad as a bonus to sometimes copy those or other powerful effects, and they're going the full distance with Howard the Duck, so they actually know which card they're going to be drawing to make the Iron Lad all that much better. Really cool seeing someone make it there with Howard. I think this might be the first person I've seen do that, so a big congrats to them for making a pretty memey card actually end up working out on their climb to infinite. But yeah, this is definitely, I think, one of the better decks out there right now. There are a lot of different versions of it, but High Evo lane lock, if you like just controlling what your opponent can do in the game, this is probably the deck for you. And that is going to wrap it up for the final infinite decks of the week for the Guardians of the Galaxy season. So not quite as much variety this week, though there was some really cool stuff. I think there are just less infinite posts in general because it's so late in the season. We're also seeing the metagame being fairly settled, so I think we're going to see more unique stuff popping up next month as Ghost Spider and other new movement cards get released and people experiment with all that kind of stuff. But for now, that's been the roundup. Hopefully you found it useful. And again, if you want to check out some more information on the decks or the players, you can check out the article, link in the description as always. That's going to wrap it up for this one though. I'm Zombies. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to like and subscribe, and stay tuned here at Marvel Snap Zone for all your Marvel Snap content. That's going to wrap it up for this one. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.